All right, guys, welcome back to another video from the channel here. So all we're going to do in this video guide is show you how you can use a animation sequence from another character or monster and apply that to a skill that you may be trying to modify or create a new one of. So with that said, I'm just going to roll right into it and show you how it can all be done. So the first thing we'll do is just grab everything we need from the cast. Obviously, if you already have this, you can just kind of skip this step. But we're just going to assume that you're doing this from scratch. So the first thing we'll need is obviously to edit the skill we're trying to make look like whirlwind animation now. So we're going to go ahead and grab skills.txt and we'll just open that right up. And for our example, I'm going to be trying to help a player who is trying to add a whirlwind animation onto an Amazon for a new skill. So I'm just going to be replacing jab just as a quick and dirty example of how this can be done. So for that, we're just going to go ahead and scroll down here to whirlwind. We're going to copy that row, and then we'll go ahead and paste that over jab. And we're just going to quickly edit what we need to fix that. So this is basically just kind of changing it back to how it was as far as all the skill descriptions and stuff go. And then real quickly, I want to go over the only other kind of fields we care about as far as the animation goes. So if we go over here to the animation, sequence transition, and then finally sequence number fields, these are going to control how this skill is animated. So the most important thing for us is that in the animation column, this is set to SQ, and that stands for sequence. So if that is not set to SQ, the game will not know to look in the JSON files that we're going to edit later to use the sequence for the animation. The second thing we need to care about is the sequence transition. This is going to control things like whether it's affected by increased attack speed or faster cast rate. Because we do want it to be affected by increased attack speed, we're going to go ahead and just leave this transition on A1 for attack 1. And then finally, the sequence number. This is a hard-coded index to the animation used in the legacy version of Diablo 2 Resurrected. So the only thing that we care about for our case is that it has basically a compatible sequence number to the animation that we're trying to clone. So with all that said, this is how we want it because we're just trying to clone Whirlwind, nothing fancy here, but I do need to explain that real quickly. So we're just going to go ahead and save the file. We're all set there. And then finally, we can move on to the actual animation editing, which is also pretty simple. So for that, we're going to go into the HD character player folder, and then finally grab the animations that you're trying to use. Obviously, if you're trying to copy a monster animation or something, just go to the enemy folder instead. But for our example here, we're just going to go into Amazon. So because we're editing the Amazon state machine, I'm going to go ahead and go into our mod folder here, get that ready. And the Amazon state machine is what controls how all the animations are linked together and which one it's going to use, things like that. So we're going to go and drag that out. We'll be editing that in just a minute. But we also need the Barbarian state machine to basically copy things from, because we'll be taking the settings from his whirlwind to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and open that right away. And then we're going to go ahead and format this giant mess so we can read it a little easier. And then real quickly, I want to go over just kind of the 4 basic parts of a state machine file. So the first section is going to be all the dependencies. These files you don't really need to worry about. You don't need to like add new files here or something if you're editing things. As far as I know, it's just not important. So we're just going to ignore all that. Scroll right past it, and the next section you'll see is going to be for the actual animation items. So this is going to define the individual location for this animation item, as well as the name that animation will go by. So this is going to be a very important section for us. And then the second section we care about is going to be the actual animation states themselves. So once the animation is defined above and it knows where to get the animation and what it's called, then the actual state for that animation is defined, and you can assign whether it works for only hand-to-hand weapons, what sequence it's using, all this kind of stuff. So, and then finally, the last section we don't really care about is just these transitions. We're not going to get into that in this video, but essentially you can control kind of how long certain transitions take between states. So with that said, let's go ahead and search for Whirlwind. And again, the first thing we need to do is get the actual definitions for the Whirlwind animation. So we're going to skip all those dependencies, come straight down to the animation items, and we're just going to copy all these for our example. So all the way to the last closing bracket, and we'll copy that. And then again, we want to put this on our Amazon, so we're going to go ahead and open our Amazon state machine. Again, do some formatting. And then just like before, we're going to scroll down to the end of these animation items before it starts getting into the states, and we're going to go ahead and copy and paste those in. So just a quick comma to tell JSON it's continuing, copy and paste everything in, and then delete the trailing comma. So now we've added the Whirlwind from Barbarian, and we've told it to, hey, use this name for future references in the file. So these are new animations that it can just pull from Barbarian since it already exists. And now what we need to do is copy the state for that. So again, we're just going to search for the actual state. And here we can see this is how the Whirlwind skill is normally applied in the Barbarian state machine. So real quickly, I'm just going to go over a couple of the things that are important for this. So let me copy that and we'll get started. So what I'm going to do here is just, again, go to my Amazon states, go to the very bottom, right before it gets to the transitions, and we're going to add a new one in. So just like before, put a comma, paste everything, delete the trailing comma, and now we've added a new state in for our custom Whirlwind animation for whatever skill we're going for. So the important things that we care about are the state ID. So this needs to be a unique number that's like the next in the sequence for this JSON file. So if we go one state above, we can see the last state ID that was used was 60. Again, the one before that was 59. So these are all just incremental numbers. So we're going to change ours to 61, so it's the next in line. The mode ID, this just needs to be anything that the character is already using. So in our case, the character is using mode ID 18 for some things already, for like Zeal, Fend, Power Strike, some things like that. So we can just reuse that mode ID. It does not need to match the mode ID that is shown in the text of 10. So again, this is like a Diablo 2 Resurrected thing. Choose a mode ID that is already used somewhere else. Finally, the skill index. Normally it's 151 because we copied and pasted it. So if we go look at what that means, if we go look at skill 151, we can see that's for Whirlwind. So all we're trying to do is change it so that for Amazon, it uses it for Jab, which again for this case would be skill index 10. So we're going to go ahead and just change that index to 10, and that's going to align all that up. And again, this fields below here are telling it which type of animation to use for which weapon type. So whether it's a hand-to-hand weapon, a bow weapon, a one-hand sword, this tells it, hey, you can use that for this animation. And again, this is what we entered in up here when we added in all of our new ones from the Barbarian. But with all that said, we would normally be done. However, Jab already has a sequence. So just real quickly, I'm going to search for Jab, and you can see here it's already assigned to skill 10. So if I tried to do this now, it wouldn't work. Normally, if you're creating a new skill, you're likely not going to have that issue as there's no sequence for it yet. But just for this example, I'm going to change it to skill index 100. Now it won't apply when we try to use our actual new skill, and it won't kind of break anything. So anyways, we're all done there. We've created our new state. We've linked everything together. We're going to save it. And then now when we go to launch the mod, get that going real quick, we should see that our new jab skill has the whirlwind animation. And there we go. So now your Amazon has the same animation sequences as Whirlwind. And again, you can use this basically however you want on different sequences or skills to get the effects that you're going for. So I appreciate everybody sticking around to the end, and I hope you enjoyed all the content. Take care.